Europe alone, assessing Emmanuel Macron's acrobatic version. Europe is on the edge of precipice, says France president. Is he right? Today's Europe owes its existence to the United States. American fought two world wars on European soil. American diplomacy was midwife to what became the European Union. American army protected Western Europe from Soviet invasion, and American statesmen oversaw German unification, now in a dramatic plea for European. France President Emmanuel Macron has warned that America is cutting Europe loose. The old continent is on the edge of precisely what, unless it wakes up, will no longer be in control of our destiny. In his Asia Place office, Ms. Macron spoke to the columnists in apocryphal terms. NATO, the transatlantic alliance, is suffering from brain death, he says. Europe needs to develop a military force of its own. The EU thinks of itself as just a market, but it needs to act as a political bloc, with policies on technology, debt, and climate change to match. Past French presidents have argued that Europe cannot rely on America and should look to France instead. Ms. Macron is not just rehashing this view. He believes that America and Europe have shared interests and has worked tirelessly to keep good relations with President Donald Trump. And he argues that for the first time, America has a president who does not share our idea of the European project, and even if Mr. Trump is not re-elected, historic forces are pulling the old airline apart. American priorities are changing. When President Barack Obama, who was invented on pivoting towards Asia, chose not to punish the use of chemical weapons in Syria, it signaled that America was losing interest in the Middle East. Mr. Trump's recent abandonment of American Kurdish allies in Syria not only enforced this, but also undermined NATO. America did not inform its allies, and Turkey, a NATO member, promptly invaded Syria. Strategically and politically, Ms. Macron said, we need to recognize that we have a problem. Asked whether he is confident that one NATO member would today be seen as at all, idea that underpins the alliance's credibility, Ms. Macron said he does not know. He acknowledges that NATO thrives operationally, but it calls for Europe to reassess the reality of what NATO is in the light of commitment of the United States. Europe, he said, has yet to grasp the immensity of challenge ahead. It still treats the world as if commerce and trade alone were able to ensure peace. The American, the guarantee of world trade, is becoming protectionist. Authoritarian powers on the rise, including Russia and Turkey on Europe borders. While America and China spend vast sums on artificial intelligence while they seem an essential component of their hard power, the EU devote too much say to industry. Ms. Macron wants that slow-moving heading across Europe must open its eyes and prepare itself for a tougher, less forgiving world. It is an astonishingly big picture for a centralist Europe politicians and a vote internationalists, but it is also unusual thought through, and as far as Ms. Macron is concerned, it's brought to action. It is hard to overstate the scale of change he is asking from his fellow Europeans. Take defense, Ms. Macron thinks that his new European intervention initiative and the EU's parliament structural cooperation underpinned by the European Defence Fund can integrate military operations and boost Europe's capabilities, the implication providing a foundation for Europe's post-NATO defense. But these building blocks are rudimentary. American departure would leave vast holes in the area like air and missile defense, intelligence and surveillance, and arena refueling. Its military budget is twice as large as the rest of NATO combined. European governments will be reluctant to pull the gap since they have other priorities. It's easier to adopt NATO so that both to protect Europe and is also useful to the United States. Plenty of times in the past, pure calls for Europe to make a weight field in the world has turned out to be empty. This time, Mr. Macron argued, must be different, asking his fellow leaders to imagine how Europe will thrive in a dangerous world without a cost-eyeing American allies. How should they deal with Russia, with conflict and religious fundamentalism growing in the Middle East and North Africa, with the authoritarian charge of China? He deserved an answer.